Who's the fucking nerd that's been buying Bionicle comics?
I wouldn't be able to tell you. I certainly do not live with him, and he definitely isn't short and stout.
With a goblin voice.
A goblin woman voice, at least.
Yeah.
Give him that.
Yeah. A goblin woman's nose, too. And that is how we skirt the line of not calling him a Jew.
That's true. Skirts?
Oh, what am I doing with my life?
You're telling me Natalie Portman in a skirt?
Only my goblin women. And Collin.
I like short stacks. Oh boy, I do agree. What are we doing with our life?
Why buy a comic that might cost more than a dime? Come meet the brothers who are here to waste your time.
I'm one of your co-hosts, Spencer, joined by Jacob. Collin is missing in action, as usual.
We said, hey, show up for your 1 monthly episode. And he said, no. In his weird womanly goblin voice.
He's probably off buying lightsabers.
With his wife.
If only he'd pay rent instead of buying lightsabers.
He's a goblin woman, so he's probably having his wife buy him lightsabers. Only they're not really lightsabers. They're the lightsabers you find under mom's bed.
I believe it. I would believe it, and he would get very butthurt if he was here to hear it, but he will never hear this.
He's gonna be very butthurt tonight when they bring the lightsabers home.
You know what I'm butthurt about?
Having to waste your life watching this movie?
Yes, X-Men Apocalypse I have seen probably like 4 times now.
Oof, that's 3.5 times too many.
It's still not good.
That is a strange lump on your arm. Do you have the cancer?
That's it.
No. I thought in
I wish I
actuality
had
that
cancer.
your significant other bit you.
Usually there's a couple of those around too.
Oh.
Not that, no.
They're usually just hidden under all the hair.
They're usually not very hidden at all.
Spencer's arms are more interesting than this movie.
That is true, and I don't even like my arms. And yet they're still more interesting and have more aesthetic value than this movie.
We go back in time to ancient Egypt and Apocalypse does a thing, and then somehow he pops back up in the future and tries to do stuff, but the X-Men stop him.
Magneto was also there.
Psylocke was introduced to the X-Men in this movie, and that was exciting because she should be included more often. She's like one of the standard X-Men's.
I really don't like this new cast. I liked them when I was younger, at least a little, but there's very little there.
They don't have much chemistry. A bunch of them kind of suck at acting or don't care enough to act anyway. The people that do care are trying for sure and do. There are some good performances. I like Beast.
Beast, yes. Beast has always been solid, although his character does bounce around a lot between these weird prequel movies.
I like Nightcrawler.
He's okay. The makeup looked good. It did make a bamf noise, though. It was more like a zoop.
I'm trying.
I agree. The fact that the people who give the best performances are the ones who probably shouldn't even be in the movie, Magneto, is still very annoying. Despite the fact that character has nothing to do, it shouldn't be here, he's still kind of chewing scenery.
Apocalypse certainly tries. I think the sound department failed him in not making his voice intimidating enough.
Yeah. I think that was one of the larger contentions with a lot of the nerd circles at the time, was that Apocalypse was kind of short and small and not purple enough. And that's kind of valid, but beyond that, he seemed fine. I just don't think the movie did him any favors. He ended up coming across as fairly boring.
Mm-hmm. And he should be like one of the biggest threats to the X-Men.
Yeah, and he's also kind of a whiny bitch. It's just, in this movie, he's played very straight. Oscar Isaac was doing okay, I guess. But I liked the outfit. I do kind of like how they did him. I would have liked more purple. It is very busy and very textured, but I do think it works fairly well. But just his powers are done so vaguely in this. Like, it's pretty straightforward. In anything else, it's like he can absorb other people's powers, use them. He can grow, the usual superhero suite of stuff. Like, there's some stuff that's set in stone, and then this is like, well, I think I know what he's doing in terms of like its technical power name, but like, it's just, there's so much going on, and it's so visually busy all the time. That's like, I just don't fucking care. The entire third act is done on a soundstage, like really evidently. I think there was one part, like that little alleyway that Beast and Psylocke were fighting in, seemed to be practical, but the rest of it was that was a pretty small set too. The rest of it was pretty rough.
The outfit sucked mostly.
Yeah.
Magneto's is awful. It has white ribs on his red suit. It doesn't make any sense. The X-Men jumpsuits are awful and just, they're boring.
Yeah.
They should not be boring. And there's no X.
I like Professor X's lavender shirt.
I don't.
They show up in slightly better form at the end of the movie, but it's not that much better either. The end has this stupid little epilogue, and it's like, wow, look, real outfits you'll never see again.
Nightcrawler and Psylocke's outfits were good.
Yeah. I mean, Nightcrawler was basically just wearing a Michael Jackson Thriller jacket the whole movie, but I think that does work kind of well visually with what his outfit looks like normally.
Angel gets turned into like metal Batman for no clear reason.
And he's got a fuckboy haircut. I think this is the most phoned-in X-Men movie.
Yeah, it's not that it's bad, it's just mid as fuck.
I do remember Dark Phoenix being worse, but there were like some elements that tried really hard and just weren't good. But this one is just like nobody was really trying that hard.
Yeah, it's okay. We'll just sell tickets because it's an X-Men thing.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, it didn't do very well at the box office either. Which feels
we can
fair.
find out. Hold on, let me find numbers.
It broke even, but I don't think it did gangbusters. It came out the same year as BVS and Civil War, which both did much, much better, and are both much better movies.
There we go. Budget estimated to be $178 million. Gross worldwide is $544 million.
Yeah, so it turned a profit. It probably broke even at like $320.
Yeah. So it made a profit somehow.
The Days of Future Past went gangbusters though, that's a pretty steep drop off. I think that made like 800 or some shit. That was a lot. What are you looking at, the god-awful posters?
No, IMDb suggested another movie I've never heard of, and the plot description sounds awful. Why would you watch that? Gross.
This doesn't make the sick movie list.
This is bad. Just barely bad, but it's bad.
Yeah.
Because it's just, there's nothing outstanding about it. Apocalypse looks cool. I like the suit. That's my highest positive. I like the intricacy in his suit.
The horseman showing up to Auschwitz is definitely a choice. There's just so little to grasp onto. Everything feels really, really shallow. Like, the references to the previous movies feel shallow. The fights are extremely lame. The characterizations are pretty flat.
Sometimes the makeup looked really bad.
Beast look good. Not the outfit he wears, but the makeup definitely. I prefer this look to the one we had in First Class. The First Class look I do not like at all. Real weird.
Mystique's color changes every time, and it bothers me.
I feel like it might
Her
have...
hair does, too.
It might have more to do with the cameras changing, potentially. Like, the makeup department might have the same color palettes on standby, but, like, every time between movies, they change cameras. Maybe.
They also color graded differently.
Yeah.
Like, really harshly sometimes in this movie.
Yes.
For no clear reason.
Mexico filter for Egypt. Yeah, I got nothing.
This is bad.
Yeah.
I'm upset that I finally made it all the way through this movie.
Well, at least it won't take you very long to forget it. It'll be like tomorrow.
Forget what?
Yeah. Do you have any somethings that are not forgettable that you have been up to?
Oh, that I've been up to. No, I don't actually. That was a terrible segue. Let's talk about Distillery's Come Find Me, an Autumnal Offering, #1. This is a one-shot. What's the word that I'm looking for?
Anthology.
Thank you. That has all kinds of different creative teams, and they do like a 5-page-ish horror story. And Becky Cloonan is definitely the headline name. And I can say that I actually liked her story in this one. For once, it's exciting because I try very hard not to hate her works, but it's hard. This was fun. It was just a fun one-off with different themes, different like horror themes. It was definitely kind of like if you like the A24 horror offerings, it felt kind of in the same vein as those like artsy, ethereal horrors, I don't know. I don't have a good example, but it felt kind of like if you like The Vivitch and Hereditary or Midsommar, like it's in those veins. But I gotta be honest, none of the stories really stood out to me. They were really gorgeous most of the time. It felt like the quality of the stories kind of tapered down through the book. It wasn't like up and down, kind of like we've talked about with the Marvel Red, White, and Bloods. Black, White, and Bloods, whatever. You know what I mean.
Yes.
I think it was like $8 for the issue. And it was pretty good. It's like 54 pages, and it looked good. I'll be buying this year's Autumnal Offering if they do it again.
Nice.
This is going to be a fast episode. 20-minute episode. Let's go.
We could do it. That would be a new record. I read Star Wars Shadow of the Sith. It is a novel. Me and my real words, no pictures.
When did it come out?
Like 2022.
Ah.
This is a between episode 8 and 9 book, which means it is trying to make episode 9 make fucking sense. And it actually pulls it off pretty well. It follows Luke and Lando getting sent on kind of two separate but then eventually conjoining quests. One of them is, this is maybe 15 years after Return of the Jedi. The Jedi Academy is up and running. Ben's a teenager. Luke goes to an excavation site with Lor San Tekka, that guy who dies at the beginning of Force Awakens, who's like a kind of Jedi worshiper. It's weird. He goes to an archaeology dig. He finds an old holocron, an old Sith holocron. He starts having weird hallucination flashback visions of Exegol, which I actually thought were handled really, really well. The hidden secret Sith planet that's through a bunch of universes you can't navigate without a wayfinder, something that the movie doesn't set up at all. There are 2 Sith wayfinders that have ever existed, which are basically a primitive version of a holocron. It just plugs into your ship and gives you a roadmap to get to a place. So after starting to have all of these visions and starting to kind of feel the dark side creeping in his ear hole and whispering sweet nothings, he decides to investigate. Lando ends up joining alongside him because Lando's daughter is missing, another thing that does not really get set up in episode 9 at all. You remember
the daughter that he has with the sex robot in Han Solo?
Not with the sex robot.
Aww.
Sadly. But you remember the other defecting stormtrooper who was also black in episode 9? Maybe?
Captain Phasma?
No, she's white. No, the one who Finn kind of flirts with a little bit. The other, yeah, that's Lando's daughter, by the way. The movie doesn't tell you that. But during this time period, the First Order was kidnapping and disappearing political dissidents as well as a bunch of people's kids to raise for stormtroopers as well as the Sith Eternal Army. So Lando has this tragic backstory, which I actually thought was also handled surprisingly well. Him and all of their buddies from the rebellion tried to go find her for years. They couldn't find anything. So Lando just has like this wonderful trauma sitting in the back of his head. So he's kind of depression all the time. So he gets some whisperings through the networks about a family that is being chased by a bounty hunter slash assassin, Ochi of Bestoon. Also, from episode 9, you know that guy who shows up for 0.3 seconds and then fucking dies because, he's the guy with the weird eyeballs.
I'm nodding my head, but I don't remember the movie at all.
Yeah, he's orange.
Somehow Palpatine is back.
Pretty much. You know when they go to the sand planet and they go in the ship and they're like, this was that guy's ship, and they find the dagger? Maybe, yeah, movie's bad. Anyways, it's basically just explaining how they ended up there. So Rey and her parents are being hunted by the Sith Eternal, who are sending out an assassin to go find them. That's kind of the entry point, I guess, to the book. That's the initial hook, is trying to get invested in those characters. They're better than they were in the movie. They're not amazing. Dathan, because he is a offspring clone of sorts, has an interesting internal dichotomy, which I thought was pretty well handled. Rey's mom, whose name I can't remember, was actually pretty cool. Like, the way that they discussed their relationship between the time Dathan escaped from Exegol and before they had Rey, I actually thought was pretty cute. They basically just met on, like, a farming planet and did, like, cute couple shit. And then, Dathan's like, so, my dad's Hitler.
It's always a good intro. I always hit them with that on the first date.
I think it's a good play. So they're getting chased throughout the whole thing. Lando encounters them, then he recruits Luke, who's again also on a kind of related quest to help them find this family. So it's basically a big game of cat and mouse with the family magically escaping from the bounty hunters trying to find them. Luke and Lando barely catching up, basically telling them, we'll hold them off, you should keep going, and then this kind of loops over and over again. There's an entire other faction introduced in this, which is the Acolytes of the Beyond. They're basically just more Sith Eternal with another name. I don't entirely know why they were created for this book, which does feel weird. There's a weird description that I remember in this that made me think of a particular thing, I guess. The person who's, like, I guess the only remaining Acolytes of the Beyond, they're, like, halfway between the Knights of Ren and the Sith Eternal. They do use the dark side, and they like the dark side, but they're also not Sith. It's weird, whatever. Dead cults. They specifically reference this person having long sleeves that they have, like, the thumb hole, and with the name Acolyte on that, I went, what else is coming out around this time? Oh, right, the Acolyte. And then I remember, May at the beginning of the Acolyte, when she has her, like, purple outfit, it has the thumb thing. That's such a weird detail to remember. I feel like they might have been intending to set something up between these two, and because the Acolyte got canceled and all of that bullshit, it just kind of went to the wayside. But I have an inkling that there was definitely going to be more continuation of this, like, subculture, which I'm kind of sad we're not going to get. This person gets possessed by a Sith helmet because, of course, kind of like in the Darth Vader comics when we have the Darth Momin helmet, who is another Sith who put his essence inside his helmet, and then when you put it on, he possesses you, blah, blah, blah. It repeats some of that over again. So it's this person who, like, is kind of bad, but not really that bad, but they're getting kind of driven crazy by having a literal Sith whispering in their ear all the time. And all of these parties kind of smash together. This was a really good audiobook. It felt like reading this would have been more, not necessarily difficult, but a lot less engaging. The narrator has a lot of really good voices. It's the guy who does the vast majority of the Star Wars book audiobooks. He has really good voices, and a lot of the audio production really helps. Yeah, in the end, Rey's parents die. She gets stuck on Jakku. Luke and Lando are like, damn, I think that kid might be dead. We don't really know what else to do. The trail ran cold. And Luke goes back to school, and Lando decides to live on Pasana now to keep looking for missing children, which is where we find him in episode 9. If you exclude the beginning and the end, like 2 chapters maybe, out of like 40 chapters, where it's very direct setup and response to what it needs to kind of end up as, it's a pretty engaging story. It's just Luke and Lando on another adventure being like, oh yeah, the Sith are definitely coming from somewhere. What the fuck is going on? This is bad. We should fix this. And I like it. It was pretty good. The fact that it's mostly setup and effectively retconning another entry does take it down a decent amount. I can't really fault... I don't want to fault it for having to do that, because that's what the pitch is. It's like, hey, we need an in-between book. We trust you as a writer. We'll know how to handle this. And I think that given the material, they did a particularly good job. It was written by Adam Christopher, who is going to be already wrote the upcoming... was it Darth Vader, Lord of the Sith, or whatever? It's another between episode 3 and 4 book. That does look really cool. It has a very cool, like Darth Vader concept art type cover that we talked about a couple of weeks ago from Star Wars Celebration. So I do think that given less oversight, I think he'll do a very good job on that front in terms of engaging with the, pseudo-spiritual matters of the Force. I just think given the restrictions he had, it did take this book down a decent bit. It was a little bit long. It was maybe 16 hours of an audiobook and like 40 chapters. I feel like it did maybe like 5 chapters too long. Just a few too many times of, oh, we're about to get to the family. Ah, shit, they gotta get away. Well, I guess we'll find them again. And they do that a few times. I would recommend it, I guess, if you are curious about whatever Disney thinks was going on in this time period. And if you want another like Luke Skywalker kind of at his peak adventure, I think it's very good for that. Very good characterizations for all of its characters, including ones we have either not seen before or have effectively no characterization in their original entries. I listened for free on Spotify, and I have ordered the hardcover book, which is like $20. So I give it 3 out of 5. It got close to 4 out of 5. It was really bouncing around in that like 7 out of 10 zone. Definitely, I enjoyed listening to it. I don't know if I'm gonna go back though.
So then why buy the hardcover? Just to...
Because it's pretty. Because it's pretty, and I want it on my shelf. Maybe I'll read it again. What else you got?
I read Ultimate Wolverine 1 through 6.
Oh boy.
Written by Christopher Condon and usually arted by Alessandro Cappuccio, except for issues 5 and 6, where it was penciled by Alex Linz. This is a strange alternate take on Wolverine, where he's Weapon X, but also the Winter Soldier. So his mind has been wiped, and he's hunting down the mutants and killing them dead because he doesn't know any better. Cappuccio's artwork is incredible. It's definitely what is selling the book so far. Which made me very upset when it switched to Alex Linz. Like, what the hell is this? The book looked so good. And to be fair, Alex Lin's artwork looks really, really good. Issue 6 ends with the mutant resistance capturing Wolverine and making him remember all of the things. And so he's losing the Winter Soldier-ness of his story. And that is something that Spencer pointed out, is like this version of Wolverine is really not that different from other versions that we've had. Out of the Ultimate lineup that we've had so far, this is probably the weakest mix-up to the typical story that we all know and love. But it looks so good. Oh, it looks so good. And I had noticed too that there's not really a whole lot happening in the issues. It's like 80% artwork, I dare say. So it looks gorgeous. I'll keep reading it and hope that it gets deeper, like that there's another twist or something to keep me interested. But so far, it just looks really, really good. And if Cappuccio's taken off of it, I'm jumping ship. But it looks like he's back for 7 and 8 at least, so.
One can hope. Speaking of hope, it's not Superman, I promise.
I thought you were doing Star Wars again.
It's more Star Wars.
I knowed it. Oh yeah, tongue that's in.
So speaking of hope, and set between the episodes 8 and 9, I also read Resistance Reborn, which is the I would say the main book set in this time period. It was their part of like the Road to Rise of Skywalker book, and it is about the Resistance being reborn. Because in episode 8, they're basically wiped out to like 10 people, and then in 9, they have more people, but not that many people. So it's that stuff. It tries to follow multiple leads, but it's basically just a Poe Dameron book, which I fuck with because Poe Dameron's great. It's about Poe learning to be less reckless and trying to be a leader because Leia has like massive PTSD, severe body trauma from the fact that she got blown into space. There's literally no leadership for the Resistance left, and she's like, I literally can't do this, but also you're a shithead. So Poe goes on a super secret special mission, of course, to get more of old heads from the rebellion back, like Wedge and Wedge's wife, whose name I don't remember, who is also Snap's mom. Snap is the big guy with the beard who's friends with Poe, who's in some of the scenes. He's in the comics a lot. He's pretty cool. Doesn't do much in the movies. Yeah, basically just all the old people are dead. So they're like, shit, we need experience and stuff because all of you people are reckless shitheads. So Poe gets some people together to go fly through space. They go do a special quest to go, let's see. They get the list. The list from the First Order that includes, all of their political dissidents who are being sent to camps and so on and so forth. So they can go find those people and be like, hey, have you tried not dying, but for us? You might also die, though. And that's basically the whole thing. I'm boiling it down a lot. There's a lot of different moving parts between espionage and some kind of assassinations, sort of. They basically have to spend the entire Resistance's credits on this one job because they have nothing left to do. Like, they need ships, and they need pilots, and they need leadership, and they have, like, a week worth of food left. It's not good. Pretty dire straits, which I thought was handled pretty well. They go to Ryloth, where the French people live, to go have their kind of chill zone for a little bit. Leia reconnects with some old friends from the Senate and so on and so forth. Yeah, it is mostly a Poe book. Rey is here. That's about it. Which I'm kind of disappointed in. The only real interesting thing that she does here, or is involved in, is her relationship with Leia gets a little bit of expanding upon, being Rey basically feels like she's surrounded by much better people with actual skills, and she's like, literally, I am a retarded child from a sand planet, what the fuck am I supposed to do? And Leia's like, but I like you, though. You should hang around. Luke trusted you. That means something. So it isn't much, but it is definitely something to hold on to there. Finn also exists. He has more of a plot relevancy, but he doesn't do anything specific to his character other than hang around with Poe, and they don't even do gay shit. Disney really didn't want that to happen, very evidently. They had to give Poe an ex-girlfriend in episode 9 for a reason. It's barely conspiracism, and you fucking know it. It was really interesting getting to get caught up on some of the older people from the Rebellion and a couple of ex-Imperials who are now joining the Resistance, what their life has been like since leaving, since the Galactic Civil War ended. We also follow a First Order secretary, basically, for a few chapters. Star Wars books love having two concurrent storylines. We follow this prick who works in, like, archives, and he, just abuses the shit out of his underlings who end up turning on him. One of them ends up giving the list away. Hence, it does connect eventually. That was interesting in the sense of getting to see some of the more internal workings of this massive war machine that's popped up kind of out of nowhere. But it wasn't really anything surprising. Just with the things I'm interested in terms of political movements, I knew exactly where this was going, which is fine. I'm just so fucking cool, but
I'm literally so smart.
I'm so smart.
I know everything political ever.
It's true. Ask me any random fun fact.
What was the fall of the Chinese Empire?
Fortune cookies.
Damn, he's good.
So I did appreciate how the two stories connected. It did feel very disconnected for a very long time. Like, how long are we going to follow this asshole with very few character traits other than being an asshole before we, kind of pull the plots together? The actual heist that they end up doing to get the list and then kind of crash a party and all of the plot lines converge, I thought was really well handled. That was pretty cool. That's about it. It was... I think it was like 30 chapters, so probably like 12 hours. Not the same level of quality, but I also felt like I got more than I expected out of it. I really expected it to be an in-between-quel, nothing really happens, and it's basically what I thought would happen, but I still liked being along for the ride. I don't know, getting Wedge back is kind of big. Seeing how the Resistance tries to get anybody to help them, how many different organizations within the galaxy are just way too scared to work with them because the New Republic just kind of went boom, and now the First Order's like, yeah, you work for us now. So I thought that it was handled well. It just didn't really hook me that much. Poe is a good pro-tag, of course. Maz Kanata shows up and does some weird-ass shit, like put shit on her face.
Like, actually?
Yeah, it's some, like... I don't remember what planet she's on, but it's like, yes, the feline population here have healing properties within their dung. So she, like, goes to the spa. It's goofy Maz Kanata shit, which I thought was nice. Leia was very well handled. One of the major characters that got really screwed with Episode 9, obviously with the passing of Carrie Fisher, especially being a very large part of that. I thought that they did a decent amount of work on that front to give her some more substance. And also just, like, putting names on, like, I don't know. There's something about how a lot of, big franchises don't really acknowledge how fucked up their characters get in a lot of instances. Like, I don't know. Turns out your dad was Hitler. Oh, you've been fighting in a massive civil war. You helped build up the new government. Everyone in the galaxy finds out your dad was Hitler. Your son goes to evil. Your brother tries to kill him. Your husband dies. Your brother dies. Your son's still evil.
You know me so well.
You literally got blown into space and only survived because you Mary Poppins y'all your way back in. All of your friends from the rebellion are dead. Like, she's really fucked up. Like, she's on her deathbed for a reason. And I feel like they actually expanded on that a lot more than I was expecting. Just, I don't know, she's having, like, flashbacks all over the place and, like, can't get out of bed. And that was pretty cool. Not pleasant, but it was interesting, especially for a Star Wars book. I do have the hardcover for this. I got it, I think, used at a Bull Moose for like $5. It's a little damaged, but it's okay. I did listen to the audiobook because I don't work with people, so why the fuck not?
Must be nice.
I believe it was a different narrator. I thought they did a decent job. It was just different than the usual guy. It was written by Rebecca Roanhorse, who I don't believe I'm familiar with at all. If any of that sounds interesting, I think it's worth the read, but it's not really... Nothing revelatory, like, damn, that was just the coolest story ever, where, like, half the Jedi books are like, yeah, this whole other thing that Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon did, that was dope as fuck. This one's just like, yeah, you kind of know where it's gonna go, but it was a decent side quest. Yeah.
Rating?
3 out of 5.
Wow.
I don't like having those two at the same level, but I can't justify a real gap between them.
To be fair, you said the first one was like a little bit higher. It was almost 4.
It definitely was. It just had those overarching elements of like trying to justify the stupid plot machinations of Episode 9 and be like, why does this... something from that I completely forgot from Shadow of the Sith. Yeah, that Sith dagger is possessed, by the way. It thirsts for blood. It literally drinks it. If you stab someone, they don't spill blood. It just goes... So it kind of drove OG insane, which was very cool.
I forgot to do ratings. Come Find Me gets 4 out of 5 stars because the artwork was really nice almost all the time. And Ultimate Wolverine gets 4 out of 5 stars.
Nice.
We should do one more because we're only at a half an hour.
Fine, make me.
Fine. Oh no, I never have anything to talk about.
That's so true.
I read Spectegraph by James Tynion IV and artwork by Christian Ward. It is 4 issues long. I got it issue by issue, which is part of my problem because I went on my great big tour around the world with my rock band and had to stop reading halfway through it. The hook was really, really interesting. There's a big house with weird puzzles and ghosts chasing the people, and one of the peoples is from a secret organization that's probably vampires or something, and it turns out it's not vampires. It's just, ugh.
They're just emo.
Yeah. I was pretty bummed. I was disappointed by the finale of this book. It had a strong premise, and I thought that it ended pretty weak. It's fine enough, but it's quite predictable, and I was just like, oh, that's it? From my actual dad, James Tynion IV? Like, I feel that this is probably his weakest book, and it's still fine. It's beautiful. Christian Ward does an incredible job with the artwork. Like, I could sit and just stare at his art all day. But the story was quite a letdown. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Because, yeah, it just overall it ended up as just fine, which is really disappointing. I didn't want it to be that way. I had a lot of, like, guesses as to where a lot of these things were going, and it, like I said, with the vampire thing turning out to be just, no, they're emo, it's like, ow, well, fine, I guess. And then, like, the ghost stuff was pretty predictable, too, so, I don't know, it was just fine, and that was sad.
Star Wars Padawan's Pride. I'm sensing a theme. Is an Audible original.
Wow.
Yeah. It's written by Brian Q. Miller. It's like the only Audible original Star Wars thing that is canon and not from the High Republic. There's a bunch of High Republic stuff which are all fantastic, but this is the only one that I could find that is not actually meant for babies.
Mm-hmm.
So it is, I would say, YA, maybe a little younger on, like, overall tone and, like, depth of writing. It follows Obi-Wan and Anakin between episode 1 and 2, while Anakin is still a little baby boy. He's like 12, and Obi-Wan is grumpy. The Jedi Council decides to send Anakin undercover to a pod race because he's, like, the one human who can pod race. So they have him go undercover as a different person from some rich family or whatever because they suspect that there is weird, illegal, bad shit going on underneath the pod race itself. So Anakin is like, dude, this is pod racing! And gets really distracted all the time.
Human trafficking at the pod racing.
Yeah, basically. I actually don't remember what the setup was in particular for that. Anakin starts the book, quote-unquote, by stealing a ship from the Jedi Temple, and Plo Koon's mad about it. And then Obi-Wan calls him up and is like, dude, get your fucking ass back here before they kick you the fuck out. And he's like, fine. It's nice seeing younger Anakin stuff before he actually does crazy irresponsible stuff, but like for nebulous reasons. He is genuinely just being an excited child. There's a really large swath of books from Legends that I really liked during this time period. I don't remember what they were called, but they were like late elementary, early middle school type books. They were pretty small, they weren't complicated, but there was just a lot of Obi-Wan and Anakin go on adventures, and Anakin's a child. So Obi-Wan also goes undercover as this, Anakin's posing as like the child of some spice merchant or whatever. And then Obi-Wan is like his bodyguard. Turns out that one of the people involved is a Hutt that Obi-Wan has had dealings with before. So he has to dip out and just play sniper support the whole time. So Anakin is kind of scrambling constantly, being, again, like 12 or 13, being undercover with a bunch of freaks. The pod racing sequences are actually really exciting. I was very impressed by the ability to translate that to the page/script and also then the audio version of it. The dynamic between Obi-Wan and Anakin was pitch perfect. It's just this is such an actually utilized time period for adventures. The plot unfolds, and effectively it involves the Hutt's home planet. There's some species of something that kind of kicked them all out when the Hutt species was younger, and it's like a spacefaring ooze eel symbiote. It's weird. It works really well in audio form. I don't think it would be good in anything else, to be honest, which is a testament to why this was an Audible production. There's cave drawings and weird shit about this species, entity, whatever, overtaking the Hutt's whole lives, millions of years ago. They get removed from their own planet. They get all grumpy about it. They do crime because they're Italian. I thought that was actually pretty interesting. It didn't twist and turn very much, but it felt like very natural plot progression. I don't remember any of the other characters in specific other than the Hutt that is kind of in charge of this whole ordeal. The end is him being teamed up with some evil dude who wants to use this species to actually kill the Hutts because he's racist, if I remember correctly. And then this Hutt goes, no, bad, cringe, bonk. I guess the plot ends in kind of an anticlimactic place, but Anakin has a good old time doing some pod racing and being undercover, and I really like that. It was cute. I can't justify giving it higher than 3 out of 5, but I could listen to a million of these. I think it was like 4 hours on Audible, which seemed like a decent length.
Quite short.
Yeah, it was tight. It was tight. There was no secondary plot line following some other unrelated character. It was just Anakin POV, Obi-Wan goes, fuck, deuces, and then they just communicate over radio sometimes. And Anakin just has to wade through the scum and villainy of the universe, and that was pretty cool. It was free with Audible, so big win. I want more of these. I'm kind of impressed that there aren't. The High Republic ones are great, but the fact that this happened first and they didn't do anything else with that is kind of disappointing. You know what else is pretty good and does rate higher than 3 out of 5 stars?
I thought you were going to say disappointing, and I was like,
The only thing...
Our release schedule?
That is true.
Thank you.
The only thing that's disappointing about our patrons is that there's only 2 of them, and we are a disappointment to them.
Yeah, that's true. We disappoint them weekly. It's like an actual romantic relationship that we're kind of in, but not really.
True. If you want to help support this show...
Because of the weekly disappointment.
Meaning when I take my weekly poop. If you want to help support this show and our other bullshit, you can go to patreon.com/dimecomicbros network. Throw us a couple of bucks. It's appreciated. You get exclusive access to happy hour segments where we talk about random bullshit over a drink sometimes. Sometimes early access when Spencer is an adult. When I'm an adult. We've been child moding lately. I'm eating nuggies and drinking chalky milk. As well as stickers and bookmarks and all sorts of cool stuff, which is designed by our third-party Collin, who we promise isn't fake. He does actually exist. You wouldn't know it, but he does sometimes show up.
The amount of times he dissociates, I kind of wonder.
Me too. He could be a projection. Are you a Green Lantern? Is he a projection? A construct?
Oh, yes. I cast him from my cock ring. Be like our really cool friends, Jeff Lorenz and Caitlin, and go to Patreon.
Our other cool friends who do have Green Lantern rings, they might wear them on their cocks, I'm not gonna lie, or are over at Jetpack Comics and Games. They're in downtown Rochester, New Hampshire. They're our local comic book shop. You should buy your comics in a comic book shop.
So that's why I haven't seen your Green Lantern ring for a long, long time? It got stuck?
I gave it to Kyle. He needed a spare. He needed to size down. Support your local comic shops. It's good for everybody. Jeff Bezos sucks dick. I can't wait until Lex Luthor in the new Superman movie looks like Jeff Bezos and it gets told to suck a dick.
And then it actually does.
Dude, them trailers are doing the Smallville ass, like, low-key romance shit. It's very interesting. He does indeed kind of cum trap Superman to make a clone of him, so...
I've never seen a single second of Smallville.
It's wild. It's pretty good, but it's wild. It's very early CW in a good way. Oh boy.
Next week is Dime Gaming Bros, where we're gonna share the Doom the Dark Ages.
Yes. This will be a contentious episode, methinks.
Oh, absolutely. I'm coming in hot like a Collin.
I might have to call in a favor from Collin to send in an ICBM to your house.
I'm coming in hot like a hot Collin shit.
I don't think those come in, those come out.
They come into the toilet. When it just, like, slips out of him. There's no brakes on those.
No. It's lubed up with bacon grease.
Yep.
Slip and slide.
You didn't have to pause it.
Yeah,
Just because I shit in my pants doesn't mean anything.
I just wanted to say slurs.
Oh.